young. Colon cancer is the third most common cancer in the United States, and the number of cases among people in their 30s and the 40s is rising. So joining us to talk this morning about why doctors are seeing more cases of colon cancer in younger Americans and some of the warning signs is Nurse Alice Benjamin. Good morning, Nurse Alice.
Good morning, ladies.
First off, what are the risk factors for colon cancer?
So the risk factors for colon cancer include someone who is either overweight or obesity. How do I know that? That means my BMI is usually over 30. Also, things like our diet, what we're eating. We know that diets low in fiber, high in fat, red meats, processed foods, those put us at risk, as well as smoking and alcoholic intake. Those all increase our risk for getting colon cancer.
Right. And my grandmother actually died of colon cancer, and she was in her 80s, you know, when it impacted her. And we're looking at the symptoms. She didn't have any of those, though, doctor. And of course, it varies for everyone. Maybe it was more of a situation for her type of diet or genetics. What are the symptoms for someone to go see their doctor if they have concerns about colon cancer?
Well, someone who's having symptoms for colon cancer, whenever we see changes in your bowel habits, perhaps a change in color, consistency, frequency, someone who's having abdominal discomfort like bloating, gas pain, or they have this weakness and fatigue. But really what we also see is unexplained weight loss. And earlier I named some of the risk factors. Some of the other ones that I didn't mention also include, you know, older in age and ethnic backgrounds. And if you have a history of irritable bowel syndrome or polyps, or diabetes. Those are other things that are risk factors. So knowing those risk factors and knowing what these symptoms are going to be key to identifying, am I at risk for colon cancer and do I need to get screened?
How about any racial disparities in the risk of getting this type of specific cancer?
Right. So while we don't know exactly what causes it, we know the risk factors. What we have seen is that colon cancer is more common, hands down, in African Americans, and we see this often more times in men than we do in women.
Oh, wow. That was my next question. Do we see it more in men than in women? But what about the age when it comes to screenings? Because I'm hearing different information. Has that number gotten lower? Did it start off at 50 and now we're being asked to go at 45?
A little younger?
Yeah, a little younger.
Yes. Yeah, so the U.S. Preventative Task Force initially made recommendations for those who 50 and above to get tested. And there are other groups that will say 45. But this is screening. This means if I don't have any symptoms, I don't have any history, everything's okay, I'm going to get screened for it. That's the age. But if you're someone who has these risk factors, if you're someone who has these symptoms, family history, you definitely need to go sooner, because while we typically see this in, you know, people who are over 50, we're starting to see a rise in those even as young as 20 years old with colon cancer, and it's largely something preventable. So guys, please get screened. If you have any of these symptoms, ask your provider, because we can catch this early, remove those potentially precancerous polyps, and prevent the progression to colon cancer.
Nurse Alice, thank you so much, and thank you for that reminder with that being in my family history. We have a link to all of this very important information on our website, NBCLA. Thanks again, Nurse Alice. You can keep up to date with Nurse Alice on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram at Nurse Alice. Have a good day.